Well, good morning, everyone. This is my last video. I've posted 4 videos in the last 2 days, and I hadn't posted anything for almost 2 months. It's been a while since I posted anything, and it will probably be a while before I post anything else. I have been catching up on some things and thought, well, I'm put some videos out of things that we've done the last couple of months. But in June, I just felt like God had called me. It was really like it compelling me to sit down, and I journal a lot anyway. I sit on my porch and I read my Bible. I'm reading through I'm through the Gospels. I'm reading through the New Testament, just things like that. One day I was out there, and a couple of things that I had read had really just struck some things inside of me. G. Campbell Morgan made this statement that grace is God's activity in us and toward us. And I thought, wow, that is so true. Grace is God's activity toward us and in us. And I began to write down what some of God's activity toward me and in me was. And it just kept leading me on to so many different things. And I began to start writing. And I wrote and wrote and wrote and wrote. And I spent the next 5 weeks writing. And it turned out to be, Connie called it my spiritual biography. It ended up being my spiritual autobiography. And it ended up being about 86 pages long. So this is it. I hope you can see this. Abide in my love, a spiritual autobiography for my children and grandchildren. And it's 80 pages long. In it is a lot of my history, a lot of my family, a lot of where I had been before I came to know Jesus, how I came to know Jesus, what was life like after that. And then when God began to do this amazing work in me in 2008, after I'd already been a believer for 8 years, and I've been walking in that ever since. It is broke down into 5 different, I don't want to call them chapters, but in a way it is chapters. I'll put it right here, if I can show it a little bit. And some of the songs that God has used to speak to me. So this is it. This is what the 5 chapters are broke down into. Once I walked insecure and distrustful of love, then Jesus became my love. Once I walked in oppression and slavery, then Jesus became my healer. Once I walked in inner chaos, then Jesus became my rest. Once I walked in brokenness, then Jesus became my peace. Once I walked in sorrow, and Jesus then became my joy. And it's just my story of where I was, where I am now, and how God brought me to the place of who He is and who I am because of Him. And I wanted it for my kids and my grandkids. I have some writings, my family does, of my grandpa when his first wife and his 2 children died, and it means the world to me to have those writings and some other things that he wrote. We, as his children and grandchildren, have the words, his own words of God's faithfulness to him and in him and through him, of God's activity toward him and in him, grace. It's the grace that's in our family. And I wanted my kids and grandkids to know that someday also. And then I pray and hope that they write their own spiritual autobiography someday. And so we'll have all of these, unless the Lord comes back, for all of our descendants to have these truths. In Hebrews 11, it is about, it's called the Hall of Faith, the chapter of faith, I guess you could say. And it's talking about God's faithfulness to people. And then Hebrews 12 starts out, therefore, since we're surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, and it's all those people that God had been faithful to, and they recognized His faithfulness, and then they walked in faith because of it. those are the witnesses. And my grandparents and all of my family and friends that are gone before me that are in Christ, they are the great cloud of witnesses. And someday I will join them as that great cloud of witnesses. And I want to live my life walking in faith and trusting God, really trusting God, living in dependency on Him, and having a beautiful, vibrant, loving, wonderful relationship with Jesus all of my life. And I pray that for my kids and my grandkids. That is my utmost prayer for anybody, that they experience Jesus in all of His fullness and who He really is, and they live and abide and rest and trust in Him. That's why I entitled it Abide in My Love. There's a verse, and Jesus says that, abide in my love. And the word abide means so much to me, to live, remain, dwell, to dwell in His love. I live in His love. I live in Him. I live in Christ, and Christ lives in me. So that's why I entitled it Abide in My Love. So if you get a chance, maybe sit down sometime. You don't have to do it like I did, but write down some things that God has really been faithful about in your life. And your children and grandchildren will have that. And who knows, down the road, you might have a great-grandchild that doesn't know Jesus and will read that and come to know Jesus through that. And then this beautiful legacy will be again and again and again. It's a legacy that we're leaving. So abide in Christ. Rest in Christ. Trust in Christ. He is your love. He is your joy. He is your peace. He is your healing. He has healed you. So live and love from and in Him. Hope you enjoyed that.